3 pages and stuff.
¿Qué clase es ella?
Were you guys paying attention in class? I just want to point it out. You know, look,
Ella
look.
tiene dos otras, ella tiene
That's
hasta
not the
real
stuff on your
estate.
state
¿Y
exam.
cuál era la otra?
They made an exam about you.
Pardon me?
They made an exam about you.
There it is.
There we go.
Yeah, they were just doing a report. That's what was happening. So. All right, thrill seekers, welcome back. We are glad to be back so we can bring closure to this program. So everybody wave at my friends on the web. Thank you, thank you. That's good. What would you do? Just wave all the time. It's really good. So, all right, guys, we're on page 48. Let's rock into this particular page. You're going to find, obviously, the last couple of pages will go relatively quickly because we obviously need to know a little bit. Please notice inland marine. How many of you guys remember when I was talking to you in personal lines, I said that that was property movable on land. Is that right, guys? Yep. I also remember telling you that yes, there is something called controlled forms. I'm going to talk about controlled forms again because it says that those are forms promulgated by the Bureau, filed for uniform use. You remember those are standard ISO forms is what they really are. Make sure you know the definition, told you it was going to be there. But more importantly, there's another concept you need to know in addition. Remember way back, we talked about something called nationwide definition, do you remember? And nationwide was imports, exports, obviously domestic shipments and instrumentalities of transportation, communication. Well, there's another question that says, what's the function of inland marine? I remember using the words last time, it's the catch-all category. Couldn't figure out where to throw it, we threw it in there. Well, guys, that's what we did here, so notice it says, we're covering things in transit or subject to transit. What am I talking about? I'm talking when I say in transit, you remember my brother owns that big trucking company. All that cargo in the back of the truck not covered under auto because it's not permanently attached. Bring the cargo over here, got you covered. Subject to transit is your mobile equipment. You remember the cranes and the backhoes and the forklifts and all that. Was not covered under auto because it wasn't tagged. My friends, if you have damage to the items, bring it here. If the items cause harm to somebody else, that's general liability. But this is to take care of damage to your crane, to your forklift. That's what it's designed. And number 4, here's how we're gonna cover the bridges. Here's how we're gonna cover the roadways, the dams, the tunnels underneath of the water, and etc. All of that's gonna be here, but don't forget, we did not do a good job with antennas under commercial property. So therefore, we need those huge, huge towers with satellite dishes and antennas. We need those covered here. Guys, Channel 10 News, Bay News 9 have a huge, huge tower with satellites on it. Bring it on over here, that's what we're doing. But remember our goal, if you bring it here, is to definitely give you coverage. The problem with all of that though, is that there is, and while there are a lot of forms, total 86, last research project that I did, that's a lot of inland marine forms. The issue though is that most of the forms are considered uncontrolled because they're company specific forms. But if they are ISO forms, we've already said controlled means standard, pretty much that's what it is. The concern you also have is that they will come back and they will say which of the forms are considered to be controlled forms. I don't care which ones are controlled forms, I wanna know what they do, but your state exam thought that that would be a cool question to ask. How stupid is that? However, just so you can answer it, not that I'm suggesting you spend the time, but you can see by controlled forms, if there are 3 asterisks to the right of it on your page, all of those that have asterisks are controlled forms, ISO. Do you care? I would say to you, if you have nothing else to worry about, when you get ready to take your state exam and you think, I gotta study one more thing, then you come back and then I all that crap. But I would go eeny, meeny, miny, moe. That's all I'd do, because I don't know why they asked that. But what I can see is all the forms at the top are company-specific forms. Those that have asterisks are ISO. One of the things that I do want to tell you, though, is if you will remind yourself, coming over here, we're only going to be talking about the commercial forms, because we talked about personal forms, on page number 22. All right, why do you care? It doesn't matter. The bottom line is we talked about personal lines before. As we're looking at it, what I want to show you though is every title of every form is underlined down the left-hand column, and that's great. But sometimes in commercial, those forms that are listed there are not enough. So we came back and we created 2 of what I want to call more catch-all category forms. Please look at the far top and you will see, my friends, there's something out there called commercial property. Commercial property is a form that says if it doesn't fit anywhere else, come here and we'll do your stuff on a blanket basis. Commercial property says that we're gonna cover everything in a category without you have to list it. You don't wanna list out every single piece. So it's kind of like a blanket. Here it is, here's what we're covering you for. But if you have valuable things like fine arts or something like that, we will require you to specifically list them out. And if it's gonna be specifically listed out, then you're gonna go to something called commercial articles floater. You remember the word floater means movable, articles means type everything out. Commercial property says one category for everything, that's how we're gonna do it. But it's not so much of issue here as much as we wanna look at the forms that are down the left-hand side of your page. And in order to understand those, I'm gonna start with all three of those first forms to start in the category to start with. And when I look at annual, trip, and motor truck cargo, I need to go back to my absolutely phenomenal artwork that we had before. When I'm looking at this artwork, I remember that we were talking about the truck. When I talk about the, okay, wait a minute, not truck, I'm sorry. Semi-tractor trailer. And in this particular case, you know my brother's company carries all that cargo. My brother will be called a common carrier, and my brother will buy motor truck cargo coverage. Motor truck cargo is that property that's in your possession, whether my brother owns it or anybody else owns it. Motor truck cargo is intending to do that, but we have a hiccup. And that hiccup under motor truck cargo tells me we are not gonna give you coverage for act of God, exactly right. So if there's any tornado, flood, or wind, or anything, we're not covering the items inside the truck. Why? Because it's not my brother's fault, guys. And you know what? The weather did it, not my brother. So in that particular case, can I ask you, if you packed all your worldly possessions in the back of my brother's truck, and he's now carrying it from California down to Florida, and now a tornado picks up the truck in Oklahoma and deposits it in Louisiana, and all your items are damaged, are you gonna be happy when my brother says we're not gonna be responsible for it? I mean, God did it, not me. I don't think you're gonna be too happy. So because of that, if you had a really good agent like Dana Fink, you would have asked Diana to sell you a trip transit policy. Trip transit means any one round trip, we can go ahead and take care of it there. But if you do a lot of those, I would have sold you an annual transit policy. Annual transit policy says many shipments in the course of the year. When I say many shipments in the course of the year, guys, you can see right here, is it actually does say to you that now there's two state exam questions. One says we have a high school band that has had the opportunity to play for the White House. They're shipping their musical instruments to Washington, D.C. What policy do they want? A will say commercial property. Nope, more than 100 feet off the premise, can't do it. Next one says general liability, and the answer is nope, because liability never, ever, ever pays the insured. Next one will say trip transit, and the next one will say annual transit. Surely, annual means many shipments, they're only doing it once. Trip is your answer of choice. Next one comes back and says, we have a mail order house that's going to mail a shipment. What kind of form do they want? Because I know it said a shipment, but mail order is indicative of the fact they do more than one a year. Does that make sense? So therefore, you're actually gonna call it annual transit, and you're gonna run with that wording as you go. So pretty straightforward, no problem there. I do put a couple of stars by Bailey's customers, because they will always ask you, what is a Bailey? And I wanna make sure you understand that the spelling of our Bailey's is not exactly the same as the alcoholic liquid beverage you wish you had right now. No, our Bailey's different. Please make sure that you put a star by the fact that we're covering property of others in your care, custody, and control. That's what we're doing, guys. Property of others in your care, custody, and control. Because of that particular reason, what I want you to see right here is it does tell us that there are types of businesses out there that we will consider bailees. You can see them in my parentheses on the second line. As I ask you, what is a bailee? Matter of fact, what they'll say is, all the following are bailees except, and you can see it says dry cleaner, warehouse, and furriers. Ladies and gentlemen, they're gonna throw laundry mat in there and that is not a bailee because you take your own clothes to the laundromat, you do your clothes and you take them home. So that is not a bailee. In addition to that, what else I wanna do for you is take you out of that down to contractor's equipment. Somehow that sounds logical, but let me refresh your memory. Under commercial property, we only covered your stuff within 100 feet of the premise. That's not good for my contractor friends, because they need their tools to go from job site to job site to job site, and they need the coverage to follow them. At this point, contractor's equipment is not only gonna take care of the heavy equipment like cranes, backhoes, and forklifts, but also it's gonna take care of their tools, which is their hammers, their drills and saws, and et cetera. We're good, guys, but what I want you to see here is we have coverage, and you can do it either on an all-risk basis or name peril, your choice, buyer of the policy. You get to make the choice. Pretty cool. Next one says installation. Oh, by the way, please grab your pen and write the word floater out to the side. The reason that is a hoot is because, guys, I will suggest to you that there are some of these that are called floaters, which again means movable. I will show you why that's important in a minute, but let's help you understand that if you are a person for whom sold some materials or goods to someone else, you may have to install those products that you sold. And if you do, while that product or that item is in your possession, you're still responsible until you turn it over to somebody else. So look with me and let's believe you are an elevator sales and installation company. That means now, because you sold it, they can't install it, you're gonna do it yourself. While the elevator is being installed, $40,000 damage happens to the elevator. Well, guys, if it's in your possession, liability cannot cover it, because we don't cover anything in your possession. Under liability, can't go there. Can't cover it under your commercial property, because if it's at their location, it's more than 100 feet. If we're gonna cover the damage to the items in your possession, installation floater is gonna do it. Your state exam question goes like this. Our insured has caused $40,000 damage to an elevator that they were installing, sold to the customer. What form of coverage is necessary? A will say commercial property, B will say general liability, C will say installation, and D will say installation floater. Thank you. Can I tell you, I think they did it because they reviewed my material. I think that's probably what happened. Because I probably did not put the word floater in there, and they wanted you to know that I was wrong. Well, guys, if I put floater, I'd have to put floater behind every one of these forms here. So if it says floater, floater means movable, movable means it's a floater. Does that make sense, guys? So installation floater is the best answer. Don't pick installation only. That's the reason for it. So that's why I put it there. Dealers, don't worry about dealers. Put a star by EDP. What does EDP stand for? Electronic data processing. Electronic data processing is a fancy word for computers, guys and gals. And we'll cover hardware, we'll cover even the program and software on your computer. We'll even cover data and media, which is your intellectual information, which is great. But that's not my concern, guys. My concern is, please notice, this is the only inland marine policy. The only inland marine policy that we cover property plus liability in the same policy. That's it. That's all we're gonna do. Reason that's important for you is because when I sit back and look at these, if you are a data storage firm and you have damage to property in your computer that belongs to somebody else, we'll help you as long as it's damaged by a covered event. Pretty cool, we can do that, no problem. You can also see right below the sign coverage. Remember, commercial property was $2,500. If you want more, you can pay me more money. Come on over here, have a good plan. Mail coverage form, guys, MAIL. MAIL means putting it through postal services. We can take care of anything that we believe is monitored, and that's first class, registered and express, certified mail. Any of those are good to go, but look right below it. We're not doing parcel post. The reason we're not doing parcel post is because we're not so much concerned about UPS or FedEx. We are worried, however, about the mom and pop parcel post firms, because we're not sure how secure a mom and pop keep your stuff. So we want to check them out first. That's what we're doing. Physicians and surgeons equipment. If you happen to have a situation where there is any equipment for physicians, we know it could be covered under the commercial property in the event that you had it there. but remember that's a name peril form. Come over here, we're gonna give you all risk coverage. Or how many of you have also seen mobile mammogram units or mobile cat, yeah, bring it on over here. Got you covered, guys, no problem. Film, I wouldn't worry about this. That was last year's question. Haven't heard it to be here. But this is exposed, is the key word, exposed motion picture. If you have film and there's no pictures on it, it's not worth anything. But if you have movies or anything else on it, this is the place to come because they have more value to them. My recommendation is you put some stars by accounts receivable. They love accounts receivable, and what that means to you is you sold your stock and inventory over time. If you sold your stock and inventory over time, you know you gotta send the people who bought your stuff an invoice, and then after you send them an invoice, they'll pay you back. Is that not right, guys? Unfortunately, what if those records are destroyed? If those records are destroyed, I can tell you, no doubt, that now we got a problem. The reason we have a problem, guys and gals, is because if those records are destroyed, you can't send them a bill. If you don't send them a bill, they're not paying you back. So our goal is to help you pay for cost to restore back those records. Whether or not it is to hire your employees to work overtime, or whether it is important enough to bring your CPA in and figure out what's going on. One way or another, we'll pay for it. But we know it's gonna take a while to get that done, and you were counting on that money to pay your bills today. If you choose to go out and borrow money to stay in business while we're trying to create those documents, we're not paying the loan back, no. We're only paying the interest on the loan. Why? Because you would have never incurred any interest on a loan if it would have never happened. Well, how come you're not paying the loan back? Because once we restore back the records, you're gonna collect the money and you're gonna use that money to pay the loan back. So we're not gonna let you double dip. Well, Dana, what if you don't restore all of them? Okay, all right, if we don't restore all the records, we'll pay you the loss of income from those. But whatever we've restored, you have to use that to pay the loan back. 3 different components of accounts receivable, pretty good. We also mentioned under valuable papers, once in a while, you'll get this on the state exam. And guys, this was the place I told you we'd come, and all they're asking is what is considered to be valuable papers. If I look at maps or drawings or films or deeds or any of that, that makes sense. But notice it says not money. I'm sorry, but I think money is a valuable piece of paper, but not here. Money obviously goes under crime. These have other intrinsic values to the valuable papers that are here. And the next one, I guarantee you a paycheck, but a lot of stars by floor plan, guys. That's the only one by title. It does not tell you what we do, and that's the reason they're gonna ask it of you. Please notice the definition says it covers merchandise for sale that's been financed. What? All right, so now, I don't know how many of you know, but the majority of the people who have retail stores out there don't normally own all the property that's on the floors to be sold. A lot of times the manufacturer puts them in their stores on consignment. Does that in dealerships for autos as well. The dealerships don't own those cars. The dealerships have the manufacturer put the car on their lot, is what happens. Well, at that point, if that merchandise up for sale, then the commission rate goes down the longer they keep it on the floor. And in this case, you can see here, guys, that that's what floor plan is all about, is to cover the manufacturer's interest in the property on the location is really what it's trying to do. They don't care about all that. Memorize the definition, match the title. That's how straightforward that question's gonna be. What covers merchandise for sale that's been financed? And your answer is floor plan. If I ever said theatrical property floater, somehow I think you would figure out that scenery, props, and costumes. I'm not gonna bore you any more than that. Inland marine means movable on land. However, guys, ocean marine means movable on the water. I would be remiss, yes I would, if I did not draw you the boat. That is the boat.
Love it.
Look, it's built, I'm booking. Do you see how the whole front's out of the water? And those little things are, well, there's little things up there. That is my steam in my cruise ship. You know, the stuff that comes out of, that's a cruise ship. Okay, and anyhow, so what do you get? Because this is not called a boat on your state exam, no. We can't call it a ship. No, can't do that either. On your state exam, it's gonna be called a vessel. How clever is that? That is big talk for large vessels or big boats. In this case, just like anything else, my friends, you know that we need to have coverage, so there's one type of coverage for physical damage, and there's a separate set or separate items of coverage that is gonna be liability. If I ever talk about physical damage, we have something called hull coverage, which means we're talking about your vessel is what we're talking about there. In addition to that, we also happen to have some cargo, and cargo means stuff on your vessel is what we're talking about on that one. Whether it's your stuff or anybody else's, we can cover it. But the most important one, put some stars by freight coverage, guys. And freight coverage is loss of income. That means if in fact we're talking about you, the captain of the vessel carrying items across open water, if you deliver them well, then you're probably gonna get paid. You do not deliver them well, the people are gonna say, I'm not paying you if I don't even have good stuff. So therefore, if it is beyond your control, then we'll go ahead and cover the loss of profits, loss of income there. Well, that is great. May I ask you to take one quick peek? Not only is freight coverage important to you, that as you're looking at this, guys, don't forget, we have a deductible here. What was the deductible under Ocean Marine, my friends? Franchise. How many of you guys remember 4 years ago when you started this class? Page 2, we talked about deductibles. Does anyone remember that?
Do 1 to 999.
Good for you, I love you. That's not exactly the way they put it on the state exam, but you do need to know it, good. So what she just said is, if the loss equals or exceeds the deductible, waive the deductible, is that right? That's what you said, exactly right. And guys, when they ask you, in the past, what was the deductible under Ocean Marine, you just matched franchise and that was good, but now they're asking you to match the definition to franchise for Ocean Marine. That's how they're doing it today. Freight coverage, wonderful, guys, love it a lot, but you can also see liability coverages there also. Whenever you look at liability coverage, there are 2 of them. One's called the running down clause, and what the running down clause says to you is that is damage to the other vessel. That means you ran into somebody else's ship, and that's what we're paying. However, guys and gals, there's also something called protection and indemnity. Protection and indemnity means damage to something, damage to items other than the other vessel. That's pretty cool. That's what we're looking at here. And as I look at this, what I'm going to show you guys is now watch your state exam question here and how it goes. State exam question said, our insured was navigating their vessel down the waterway, ran into another vessel, ricocheted off, hit a dock, causing bodily injury to somebody on the dock. What of the damage will be payable under the running down clause? Just the other vessel only. Why, guys? Because in this particular case, I know your vessel goes under hull. The dock and the bodily harm goes under protection and indemnity. They didn't ask that. They asked what's under the running down clause. And the running down clause is the other vessel only. That's all it is. In addition to that, I'm heading down past all of that and I'm going to the perils. Surely you need to have covered perils, and there are many covered perils. But please notice how crazy this is, because they have something called perils of the sea and they have something called perils on the sea. How crazy is that? If I'm looking at it, you can see of means wind and straining and sinking, collision, all that. But my favorite is on the sea, because it says we're gonna give you coverage for assailing thieves. What is that? Pirates, exactly
Nice.
right. Isn't that cool? Guys, I heard there's a lot of pirates down off to the shores of Africa. Did you hear that? Pretty crazy. All right, well, we got you covered, no problem, but put a star by jettison, and jettisons means that if you have to voluntarily throw things overboard to save your ship from sinking, we're gonna tell you thank you. That's pretty good. We'll help you out, recover the stuff you threw overboard, because we appreciate you trying to save something. That's good. But out of all of the questions that you may even consider, you put a lot of stars by barratry, guys. Yeah, because barratry is the most common question from this category. And barratry means fraud by master and crew with the intent to gain. Reason that's important is because that's almost like mutiny, isn't it, my friends? That's barratry. I also look down and find something called sue and labor. Sue and labor says you gotta take all necessary steps to preserve the goods. Wait a minute, Diana, under jettison, you told me to throw them overboard, now you're telling me jump in and go get them again? No. Jettison is only if your ship is in danger of sinking. If your ship's not in danger of sinking, save the goods. State exam question in the past used to say, our insured vessel needs to be repaired. They temporarily stored the items in a warehouse. What is this action considered? Sue and labor. Because if you don't take the labor to save the goods, we're gonna sue the bejeebies out of you. That's how we're gonna do it. General average, free of particular average. Again, guys, I don't think it's on your state exam anymore, but let me quickly go over it in case they shock me. Yes, let's assume that we have different companies who want their items to be carried across open water. If they have items that they're gonna put their stuff on the vessel, so let's assume again that this is the vessel and the items in blue belong to the ABC business. The items in yellow go to XYZ's business, and everything in the white space is the Jones Company. Now what happens is, oh yes, now the vessel is navigating down the waterway, and now they run the vessel into a iceberg. I only know that story only, that's the only one I know. However, now it wrecks the front of the vessel. You can see that while the ship is damaged, we also can see that the items on it, but most of the items on it are XYZ's. A little bit of Jones Company, but mostly XYZ. If they have signed a contract with the owner of the vessel, saying that they're gonna do general average, that means every company who has their items being carried across open water has to pay their proportionate share of the damage to that of the square footage they occupied on the vessel. So I can see, even though most all the damage is XYZ and ABC is gonna pay the lower end of the loss. Jones Company's still gonna pay the majority of it because Jones Company is taking up most of the ship. XYZ has a little bit more square footage, so XYZ is gonna pay more than ABC. And therefore, everybody's gonna pay their proportionate share. Is ABC a happy camper because they have to contribute? Not even close. But if they would have made the decision to do something called free of particular average, then everybody fends for themselves and takes care of their own damage. Both general average and free of particular average are partial losses. However, total loss is a totally different issue. I wouldn't worry about constructive total loss, but basically what that means is if there's damage to the vessel and it's gonna cost more to repair it than the overall value of the vessel, we're totaling out the vessel just like we would a car. No worries about that. The second most popular question on Ocean Marine is the merge. Oops, that's a little too dark. Okay, that won't work. So let's try it again. Ocean Marine, the second largest or number of questions is demurge. Number one is barratry, number two is demurge. Demurge means it's an exclusion. As I look at an exclusion, read the statement, memorize the statement, match it to demurge, and that's as easy as that's gonna be. You can see down there, guys, it says it's a charter who agrees to pay damages for delaying the loading and unloading a vessel, causing the vessel to lose profitable employee, right? All right, here it is, guys. What I'm here to share with you is that, oh yes, if I'm looking at demurge, that means that you are the ship captain. I show up at the dock and say, hey, I got some bananas I need to have carried over that body of land over there. Are you going that direction? He said, yeah, get them on by 3 o'clock. I'm heading out by 5. I said, no problem. I'm trying to get them on, but the crane broke down. You show up at 3, and he said, thought you were gonna make me have me carry those bananas. I know, but the crane broke down. Just give me a little bit more time. No, Diana, if I don't go, I'll never get over there to pick up the next load that I have, and that's money to me. And so no, don't leave, because if you do, my bananas will rot, and I mean, just hang out. He goes, no. He said, look, I got a deal for you. This is like a sweetheart deal. You know what, just let me know, if you go over there and pick up that particular cargo over there, how much profit are you gonna make? Now, don't tell me how much you're gonna get paid. After expenses, after overhead, after all that, how much are you gonna put in your bank account as profit? And you tell me, and I said, okay, look, this is a sweetheart deal. Tell you what, if you carry my bananas over there, and just wait for me and carry them over there, I'll not only pay you what I already agreed to, I'll pay you the profit, and now you don't have to go pick that stuff up. And you could have like a mini vacation, like 3 days on land. How long's it been since you had 3 days on land? I'll tell you what, you take my bananas, I'll pay you that difference. You know, whoa, I haven't had a vacation for a while, that's pretty good. And sure enough, oh yes, now what happens is, you wait, you said get them on by Friday, so no problem. You show up on Friday and my bananas are still on the docks. I said, Diana, I said, look, I'm over it, I can't get it fixed, I'm over it, just go. Well, Diana, pay me. No, I said I'm only gonna pay if you take my bananas, you're not taking my bananas, I'm not paying you. Guys, what the policy saying is, don't ask us, the insurance company, to be responsible for your decisions causing you to lose profitable employee. That make sense, guys? That's kind of what we're talking about. Barratry, Diverge, those are the two most popular questions that are there, and you can see it, the others are okay. How many are you getting on Ocean Marine? 1. How many are you gonna get on Inland Marine? 3. However, move to the top of the next page, and I would be remiss if I did not draw you the plane. Okay. This is the plane. Oops. Okay, this is the plane. That's my curly hair. That's me. All right? That's me. Anyhow, so now, if you're looking at this, we again have physical damage coverage just like we did under Ocean Marine. However, we also, in addition to that, carry liability coverage just like we did Ocean Marine as well. Set up similar, a little different. Let's take a quick sneak peek. What you're gonna see, guys and gals, when I say physical damage, what you need to know, there is 3 different ways we gotta consider it. There's one position called not in motion. That means that if your plane is damaged when it's not under its own power, that's not in motion. If I say in motion, then what that's talking about there is, it's under its own power, but it's not off the ground yet. And then the other one says in flight, which means it's gone, it's out of here, we'll see ya. The reason you care about this, and the only reason you care, is because there is no deductible when it's not in motion, guys and gals. No deductible, not in motion. It is in motion, in flight. You can see that there is a deductible. Every time I do talk about deductibles though, we're gonna consider that a percentage deductible under the other 2, because this is aviation, which we're gonna do. However, your state exam question will go like this. It says, our insured pilot parked a plane by the fence, forgot to tie it down. A gust of wind came along and blew the plane into the fence, causing damage. The insurance company wants to apply a deductible, which is correct. A says no deductible, not in motion. B says no deductible, in motion. C says there is a deductible, not in motion. And D says there is a deductible, in motion. It's not in motion because it's not under its own power, therefore there's no deductible. A was your answer on that one. In addition to that, we also have some liability coverages, and what we want you to know is there's something out there called bodily injury, excluding passengers. Yes, guys, that means that if your plane has caused harm to someone on the ground, we're gonna go ahead and take care of it. We can also see there's passenger liability, and there's also property damage liability as well. Reason this is important for you is because, yes, I know that that's wonderful, but that's not the important part of my interest. When I'm looking at this, what I want you to see here is that the major, well,